Good day, morning, evening or night. This is the second part of a video dedicated to the series Obi-Wan Kenobi, where in addition to analyze the mistakes and hacking at moments of the series, I also demonstrate how it was possible to shoot a decent movie. Before watching, I recommend you that you familiarize yourself with the first video so that the integrity of your perception is preserved. For example, to watch the episode of playing out the script of the series from the first episode, the arrival of Inquisitors and the abduction of Leia. I will build format next way. First, I will dwell on analysis of what is happening on the screen, demonstrate why this is a careless work, and then imagine how the characters would act on the screen if the writers had done a little bit of effort. The second episode, in my opinion, contains the largest number of flaws. In fact, most of them are trifles, but there are so many of them that if you put them in one row and look around at the same time, I personally become very uncomfortable. In this episode, only one good moment, a few seconds of interaction between Obi-Wan and the former soldier of Republic clone stormtrooper. Everything else is a disaster, so let's get started. Let's start with the fact that Obi-Wan tracks down the signature of the ship on which Leia was kidnapped. By the way, it turns out that Alderaan still have some kind of security system that monitors the departure and arrival of the shuttles in the house of the richest family of the planet. To the planet Daya. And many viewers will not see a flaw here, but I have something to say. I want to ask a question, in the void I guess. Why invent a new planet if everything has already been done before you? If you are not be able, for reasons unknown to me, to create a new location from which there will be no fringe of flaws sticking out, take the already written places. You want a planet city with a crime? Nar Shaddaa. Everything is there. Slums, polluted atmosphere, a huge number of criminals, smugglers, also huts. A planet located far from central systems of the Galactic Empire, it is located on the territory of the Middle Ring, under the jurisdiction of the Hutts, from which the world lives in isolation from the authoritarian laws of the Empire. Empire who, to the delusion of many, brought order to many star systems. And the directors show that the planet is under the rule of the Empire. There are patrols, there are armed forces that will help arrange a blockade near the end of this episode. The planet is in the iron fist of the Empire, but at the same time lives as it wants. Especially I like the phrase.
People like their secrets out here.
Yep, I can just see the Empire Senate sitting and saying, in 10 years we have brought several hundred systems to order and law abiding, uninformed legalization, order and fight against rebels. Can I ask a question? How is law abiding operation going on Daya? Unknown, the troops are just walking down the street, whoever wants to arrive, no one controls anything, let's forget and move to the other important agendas. Just brilliant. And this is the first 2 minutes of the second episode of the series. Obi-Wan, immediately upon arrival, addresses to the flight manager with the question of what he is looking for a ship with such a signature. He is interrupted and replies,
"You're in Daya now. All signals in or out are blocked."
Then let me ask, in that case, who is this character then? If it's not clear how many or from where the ships arrive, if it's some kind of dead zone. Suddenly, the Obi-Wan moves away. After walking for 10 minutes and reaching a certain market, an unknown girl offers to buy drugs. Obi-Wan, a master of disguise and caution, immediately declares that he is looking for his daughter who was brought to this planet. The logic of screenwriters seems a criminal sells drugs means that she knows exactly everyone who can arrange the kidnapping on that planet. Obi-Wan only misses the sign on his chest, looking for my daughter. Naturally, he was informed by the saleswoman that she is just a small dealer and did not know anything. After assessing Obi-Wan's mental abilities, a fraudster approached him, saying that for a fee she will take him to the Jedi on this planet and he will be able to help Obi-Wan for a fee as well. Okay, let's suppose that Obi-Wan specifically attracted attention, creating the image of a naive and simple person in order to somehow get a trial that he needs. Rogue leads Obi-Wan to a swindler who pretends to be a Jedi and sells tickets for spaceships to other star systems to those in need. Once again I have a question. Obi-Wan flew on a passenger shuttle, the planet is in dead zone for observation and control. Well, what prevents this woman and her child from overpaying for a shuttle ticket? Is this child force sensitive? Without other adepts of the power, it is not recognizable. Why exactly do they need a Jedi? And if he pretends to be a Jedi on a planet on which there is Imperial forces and his accomplices approach everyone he meets with a proposal for a meeting, why haven't the Inquisitors yet checked that kind of frame it is? A complete nonsense. After bringing the swindler to light, Obi-Wan forces him to help him determine the location of Leia, and he takes him to the intended place, a kind of drug laboratory. No work, no effort even has to be made. He has already found out in an hour where the base of mercenaries is located, who are able to steal the child of the Imperial Senator from the walls of the home of the most influential and rich family on the planet. At the same time intimidating the Obi-Wan that he will never get inside. I was even wondering at the first viewing what is going to be difficult for the Obi-Wan to do, what the tricks he ought to apply. Well, he just stand for a minute in front of the entrance, wait for the exit of one of the employees of the drug laboratory, decorate the cloak behind the scenes, go inside, walk slowly to the next door, distract the guard by mixing two reagents, arranging a sabotage, and steal the key that hangs in the most visible place. The end. And what did we saw so difficult that the writer added a line to the character's mouth?
Alright, if it's the sewers you want, there's only one place to go. But you'll never get it.
Moreover, going to the next room, Obi-Wan encounter more attentive watchmen, who, as befits murderers and criminals, are not armed. Everyone use only hand-to-hand combat techniques. No one even has a vibro blade behind their belt. And the next scenario stupidity. The master of a Jedi Order, Obi-Wan, is caught off guard by a mercenary group that has kidnapped Leia. I assume this was done again intentionally, as was the market scene between Obi-Wan and the drug dealer, so that the main character would find out by pretending to be defeated where Leia was. Therefore, this trap did not exist. Obi-Wan would check the adjacent cell in 1 minute, and Leia meeting with Obi-Wan would take place anyway. The whole scene of the Obi-Wan ambush has no meaning, since the result will be the same. Using a trick, Obi-Wan easily incapacitates the kidnappers. I repeat 10 times, if such idiots manage to steal Leia from the Organa family, then Organa are even greater idiots since this happened. And finally, Obi-Wan achieves his goal, the first meeting of the Jedi with the daughter of his friend Anakin Skywalker. Leia finally takes place. Leia apparently wanted to be present to the viewer as a child developed beyond her years. And by the way, one clever question she asks.
Where's the army?
Indeed, where is the army, screenwriter, that guards the Organa family?
Where are they?
But the second question
Why should I trust you?
makes me smile. I guess a stranger comes to Leia every day saying, I'm here to save you. No way without verification. Coming out with a child from the mercenary base, which is also a drug laboratory, means that all those present are aware that Leia is available hostage, since they are all from the same gang without any difficulties. It is not worth commenting, right? Obi-Wan instructs Leia to get to the other side of the town for the last ship. But why it is the last? There is no blockade yet, there is no anxiety either. Leia immediately agrees and immediately behaves like a child who came with her parents to the resort. She was kidnapped, taken to unknown place and for unknown purpose. We only think that she's not beaten apparently. I myself, for example, being in the first time in Tokyo at night, will not throw myself mindlessly where the eyes look, just out of an instinct of self-preservation. And this is a child who, as you say, is also very perceptive despite such a young age. But Leia runs from merchant to merchant, attracting attention, and the former teacher Jedi, who had raised Anakin from the age of 9 with an equally complex character, does not come to mind a bright idea to explain to Leia that you need to behave a little differently now. He is a former teacher. Anakin himself said, "You're like a father to me." Obi-Wan already had to deal with upbringing of a child. He didn't teach Anakin to wave a lightsaber only. Moving towards the spaceport, Obi-Wan notices an rotation himself with his image. As the director showed, it is sent to all hunters in this city. Seeing a group of armed men in front of him looking for them, he and Leia turn off the main street, where they encounter one of the bounty hunters. Knocking him down, He decides to take his breath here for some unknown reason, although he said earlier that we need to hurry. In parallel, a group of Inquisitors arrives on Dia. Reva reaches Leia's place of detention and discovers that she is missing. Realizing that Kenobi has indeed climbed out of his hiding place, the Grand Inquisitor announced the beginning of a blockade of the planet and the search for Kenobi. At the same time, Grand Inquisitor scolds Reva for her willfulness. And again, as in the first episode, he insults Reva, not considering her a full-fledged member of the Order of the Inquisitors, and does not react to reciprocal audacity and silently swallows it. Well, if you show how dangerous and high he is in the hierarchy, and it is clear that he has the right to talk about the rest openly what he thinks, then why does Reva, whom he considers a dummy, have a chance not only to open her mouth when she please, but also to interrupt and sprinkle insults in response? That's why it is impossible to take the antagonist in the series seriously, as I talked about it in the first video. Leaving Reva unattended, the three Inquisitors proceed to capture Kenobi. And one more time she decides again not to give a damn about the Order not to interfere, and decides to personally find and destroy the Kenobi. Well, in general it is logical, because twice for unsubordination she does not suffer any consequences. I'm becoming increasingly convinced that Palpatine Empire isn't such a bad place. The top dignitaries in the military organization are doing what they want, and there is complete discord and lawlessness on the planet under their control. Where is this unbearable oppression of the Empire? Back to Kenobi. On the hand of the hunter who was stunned by Obi-Wan, a hologram of Obi-Wan's picture appears. Leia asks why his face is there. Obi-Wan makes a complicated face, and Leia accuses Obi-Wan of lying that he is the reason why she was kidnapped. After drawing an inference, she comes to the conclusion that Obi-Wan is behind kidnapping, and that he is not a Jedi at all, since he does not wave a lightsaber left and right. I don't even know where to start. First, if you said that Leia is reasonable and sensible beyond her years, then why should you draw such distorted conclusions? The second, as they moved towards the spaceport, Leia mentioned that her father was talking about his friend and famous Clone War hero Obi-Wan Kenobi. For her, due to her temperament and character, such personalities are not just heroes, but the legends. And unlike the Empire propaganda, Bail clearly described the Jedi and Obi-Wan from a different point of view. Please explain me why she, having met one of the greatest heroes of the Republic, decided that he was a villain when she saw a rotation on the hand of a mercenary. Thirdly, let's say that she as a child, while forgetting all the sins of her wisdom, concluded that Obi-Wan is a villain, although this scoundrel is the only one person on this planet who is trying to help her. Do you seriously think that a 10-year-old child will run into a crowd of angry mercenaries away from the friendliest creature in this city? And what she was counting on? Fall back into the hands of the kidnappers and finding herself once more in the cage? It is complete madness! One action contradicts another and again in a circle, and it's never-ending merry-go-round of madness through the whole series. As in the first episode, Leia has immunity in catching up. Mercenaries can't catch her in a straight line, Obi-Wan can't stretch his arm and grab Leia either. Leia also managed to break away from the Jedi Master, and the action is transferred to the rooftops of the Night City. Please note that the hunters, because of Leia, spotted Obi-Wan. How many murderers, who make up at least half of the city population, as the director and screenwriter have shown us, will fight for the bounty on Obi-Wan's head? Correct. 2. One mercenary and one droid. That's all.
It's gone.
And the scene is so staged that it's not exaggeration to say that Obi-Wan has been cornered. He barely hides from the blaster shots, screaming to catch up with Leia to stop running away from him. Are you serious? Since you said that everyone is already on their ears and the Imperial stormtroopers with the Inquisitors and all mercenaries, why there are only one mercenary involved in the chase? Why not 21 or 51 for example? Did not have enough budget for extras, or the desire to try a little to work on the shooting? Well, if that's enough to pin down the Kenobi, which we learn that he lost connection to the Force, how can he train Luke on Tatooine to wield the Force? Oh, hell with it. Guard him from the searchers of the Palpatine and Vader. Again, Obi-Wan from the series has nothing to do with his canonical prototype at all. The icing on the cake is Leia, who with a smile on her face while fleeing from Obi-Wan under volleys of blasters ran to a long gap between the roofs of the houses. And looking back at Obi-Wan, looking down, looking at Obi-Wan again, Leia decides to rush down in attempt at what? Commit suicide? Honestly, no words are enough to describe my emotions from my first viewing.
Shit! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
I can say I was amazed. In critical situation, where Obi-Wan is almost defeated by two mercenaries and the daughter of your close friend in fear of throwing herself off the roof, the screenwriter decided to turn off the connection with the Force for Obi-Wan. Carefully landing Leia on the ground, he teleports also from the roof down to the alley. The question is, where are two mega hunters who did not let Obi-Wan raise his head? And downstairs, none of the other mercenaries decided to join the safari on Kenobi? Okay, where do I go with my comments to the genius from Disney? After falling from the height, Leia's stupid thoughts disappeared from her head, and all her complaints about the Obi-Wan disappear in a flash. They get to the spaceport, but there is already a cordon of 2 Inquisitors and a dozen Stormtroopers. As it is in the beginning of this episode and in the series as whole, Kenobi does not need to invent anything, all the necessary characters themselves come to Obi-Wan with a desire to help.
Here's Johnny!
A girl with the drugs, the accomplice of a fraudster, an agent of the rebels of the ranks of the Empire, and the same scammer who profited from someone else's grief an hour ago, stealing the last money from desperate people. But suddenly, there is a change of the character, and outright creature decided without any malicious intent, as we see in the 3rd episode, to help the main characters. A complete madness, or scripted impotence. When a character in one episode for 2 scenes first behave like a complete scum, and in the second as a dashing little one with a kind heart. As a result, rightly not too trusting this dark personality, Obi-Wan is forced to accept the offer to proceed to a close autonomous port, from which the ship departs to another planet, that transport natural resources from another star system. Why isn't there a cordon, or do the villains believe that Obi-Wan can only travel on passenger ships? Well, in general, they get to the very place, then they are overtaken by Reva, who discovered the location of Obi-Wan during his shootout on the rooftops. And there is a high point of nonsense and absurdity. Naturally, there are no one at the cargo port. Boxes and containers probably load themselves. Obi-Wan, having brought Leia to the ship, hears the voice of Reva, who managed to catch up with the fugitives. After sending Leia to the ship, which prevented him from getting on the shuttle with her and flying away, he decided to give a fight to Reva. Well, like a fight, rather play hide and seek. At the same time, if Reva is confident in her abilities and walk like a triumphator, then Obi-Wan is pale as death, on whose face there is horror and fear. Seeing that Obi-Wan has decided to run away from Reva, she intends to hit Obi-Wan's feelings as well, saying that it turns out that Anakin Skywalker is not dead, and Darth Vader is his former student, who survived their duel on Mustafar.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
And it turns out to be such a revelation that Kenobi freezes in a daze, and Reva, through the force of feeling Kenobi emotion, determines where he is hiding. To cut story short, if you insert footage from the film of Revenge of the Sith into your series, then please rewatch the film itself. Here are 3 moments from the final.
It can't be. It can't be.
That will find you, apprentice. Now, Lord Vader.
Obi-Wan. There's good in him. I know.
Hidden, safe. The children must be kept.
We must take them somewhere where the Sith will not sense their presence.
Obi-Wan knew when Anakin was still alive. Are you creators so ignorant that you can narrow the threads of your narrative without such logical holes? How Reva find out about Vader will be explained to us later, but briefly she saw Anakin doing Order 66 on the Coruscant, so who was behind Vader's mask she guessed. Further, Reva is the weakest Inquisitor, as has been repeatedly stated through the remarks of the other characters. Running away from Reva, Obi-Wan is even weaker, as he is afraid to enter fight 1 versus 1. That's another scenario gem in the character. What can he do to protect Luke and Leia? And Obi-Wan from that Viking character will turn into an analog of Rey from episode 8 in less than a week, judging by the chronology of the series. I really like it when a hero is turned into nothingness, and then with the help of the power of the writers, he overcomes all opponents without any difficulties in a matter of days, without making any effort for this and without sacrificing anything, which is what will happen at the end of this series. Mental abuse is interrupted by the Grand Inquisitor, and the third man in the Empire after Palpatine and Vader decided to demonstrate his power received a blow from Reva with a lightsaber. Brilliant. Bravo. Applause. By the way, if Disney doesn't steal from someone, it quotes from itself. A similar plot twist we already saw in episode 8, when Smoke, a separate fool, who is able to subtly play on the feelings of the others and manipulate consequences, did not feel how Kylo Ren decided to cut his mentor into 2 parts. Also claimed as an insurmountable evil. What did he do? That's right, he's infiltrated us with its presence. Obi-Wan, determined to demonstrate his escape from the chase as his colleague from the first episode, simply runs into the shuttle, which flies to another planet, which will be in the first episode of the series. Reva, who have a lot of feelings from the killing of the Grand Inquisitor, screams that she will find him and he will not be saved, and in the final scene close-up show a face of Obi-Wan, who says Anakin, and we are showing Vader. Like I said, the whole second episode is one solid misunderstanding. To play episodes similar to the first video will not work. So I suggest you to listen my entirety to how I think the script could be developed in the second episode. I keep the plot sentences from the first video in mind, since the next events flowed from them. So if you do not see them, here's the link in the corner of the screen. Arriving on the planet on which Leia is kept and having with him the signature of the ship on which the child was taken away, Obi-Wan begins to search for same mercenaries. In the past, he had to deal with the criminals and also dangerous representative of the galactic space. Combined with a sharp mind, ingenuity, developed intuition and Jedi abilities, he and Anakin managed to handle with many similar situations in the past. Taking into account this experience, Obi-Wan goes to the dark and evil places of the city in search for the information. After visiting several cantinas and finding no lead, he had decided to take a place for a nap in one of the cantina. The next day, Obi-Wan continues his search, but decided to start a rumor that a Jedi has arrived on this planet who is looking for the kidnapper child, one of the senators of the Empire. On the third day, the rumor reached the very mercenaries, who are obliged to inform Reva that their target is arrived on the planet, but they decided to check it, if it really Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi. One of the mercenaries decided to sneak up with Obi-Wan henchman, where Obi-Wan stays overnight. Returning on the third day with nothing, Kenobi feels outrage in the Force and realizes that there is someone in the room. Armed with his lightsaber, Obi-Wan avoids the ambush, easily killing the mercenaries, but one of them, waiting for him, remains alive. Using the power trick of the mind, Obi-Wan finds out who sent them. The same night, he arrives at the alleged base of the kidnappers. It is heavily guarded at the entrance by many armed guards, and even if Kenobi decided to fight his way inside, there is no guarantee that Leia won't be hurt. Plus, on the planet, with many other bounty hunters and a large number of enemies, will jeopardize the task. But since Kenobi is a Jedi, he decided to enter the building from the roof using ventilation. Carefully moving along it, reaching the briefing room, he would hear an excerpt of the dialogue, but it is known that the ambush of Kenobi is failed. This is mostly like him, and it is worth calling the Inquisitor for help and at the same time trying to get a reward for capturing Kenobi. Sneaking into the detention cells, Kenobi jumps out the ventilation system and, with the help of the Force, feels Leia's presence. Opening the door, he finds her safe and says his name and what he was sent by her father. However, the hunters installed a security system that would have admitted that there is no captive in the cell. An alarm is raised. All the elite hunters of the organization are coming back from all over the city. At the same time, at the headquarters of the Inquisitors, the Grand Inquisitor learns that the child of the Imperial Senator has been kidnapped. Permission for such operation was obtained from the Order of the Inquisitors. Gathering all the adepts of the dark side, the Grand Inquisitor lashes out in a rage at the Reva for her antics. Trying to justify herself, Reva explains her plan to capture Kenobi, but the Grand Inquisitor, realizing how Kenobi is experienced, refused to believe that he will come out from his hiding for some kind of girl. Reva is ordered to go to Daya in person and bring the baby back. After Reva leaves the meeting room, the Grand Inquisitor would appeal to the fifth brother to go with her. Answering the fifth brother question why, he would answer that Reva is not capable of doing something without mistakes. In order not to anger Vader and most importantly Emperor Palpatine for such a trick of the Order of the Inquisitors to control the operation. And he added that he was tired of tolerating Reva and if the opportunity arose, get rid of her. Back to Kenobi, who climbs with a lever to the roof and encounters several hunters, but unlike those who ambush him in the cantina, they have a high level of training. Failing to quickly cope with the enemy, the noise of the battle attracts mercenaries from below. Obi-Wan decides to move on the roof towards to the spaceport to avoid more enemies. With each passing minute, as Leia and Obi-Wan run across the rooftops, there would be more and more enemies. Shouting "Move forward and I will behind you", deflecting blaster shots and defeating the mercenary from mercenaries would move forward. But Leia would have run to the roof, which she was not be able to jump over. And then Obi-Wan, tired of the long battle and the constantly arriving assassins, urged Leia to trust him and jump. Leia, who had read and listened about the heroes of the Clone Wars and the Great Jedi during her childhood in the era of decline of the Republic, would have trusted the words of Obi-Wan, one of the legends about she had heard so much from her father. And Obi-Wan would force her gently onto the roof and the next building, which would be a few tens of meters away. When the Leia took refuge on the other side, with the help of the Force, Obi-Wan will also jump over the chasm between the buildings, and this would allow them to buy some time from the chase. Deflecting shots from the mercenaries on the other side, they would continue to move away to the spaceport. At this time, Reva and the fifth brother are on Daya. Reva, knowing where the headquarters of the mercenaries she paid for kidnapping is, will lead her and the fifth brother to the girl alleged place of the detention, but on the way they find bodies and traces of the battle. Not believing that Kenobi really came out for the girl, they call the reinforcement of the entire Order of the Inquisitors with Imperial stormtroopers. After that, deciding that Kenobi will leave through the spaceport, they give chase. Reaching the spaceport through which Obi-Wan arrived on the planet, the hero notices that the entrance and exit are blocked and everyone who wants to go or out is thoroughly checked. Obi-Wan, or even Leia, will push the protagonist to the idea that you can try to break through the corridor areas inside, where there is less security and with the help of Jedi abilities it is possible to turn in. Kenobi, appreciating the idea, would agree, and coming down from the roof they would move towards the cargo sector. Hurry up to go away from this planet as soon as possible, almost passing the entire sector. They would be blocked by the Reva and fifth brother, who, with the help of the Force, felt where Kenobi is. Obi-Wan tells Leia to step aside and accepts the challenge to the duel. But despite the numeral superiority of the Inquisitors, the level of fencing of Kenobi, master of the third from Cereso, leaves the enemies no chance. Disabling first the fifth brother and then without any difficulty the Reva, he thinks that he should not leave them alive as it is too dangerous. But remembering that the Jedi Code does not allow killing unarmed opponents and Obi-Wan cannot live the past in memory of his friends and brother from the Order, remaining true to the principles and ideas of the Jedi, does not finish off his opponents, deciding, as Yoda said, to trust the Force. And Reva and fifth brother, who would suffer serious damage, cannot stop Kenobi and Leia from leaving. Boarding the first shuttle, he flies away. After regaining consequences in a few hours later, Reva accused fifth brother that he had not interfered with her during the fight with Kenobi, the Jedi would not have left. Silently listening to Reva whining and screams, he would have remembered the Grand Inquisitor instructions and decided that this was a great opportunity to get rid of Reva. Coming closer and swinging his sword to deprive Reva of her head because of the wounds, he would have missed the blow, and Reva, in fear, for the first time used her emotions to truly resort to the dark side of the Force and overcomes the fifth brother, not believing that she managed to defeat the enemy stronger than her, and for the first time, feeling the taste of the power of the dark side, catches the arriving Imperial troops led by the Inquisitors. Stepping forward, the Grand Inquisitor asked where Kenobi was. Reva would lie that Kenobi killed fifth brother and went into hiding, and she does not have time to help her comrade. Take a look on Reva and around battlefield, understanding perfectly what had just happened, he would quietly said,
"Revenge does wonders for the will to live, don't you think?"
thus acknowledging that Reva deserved a chance to live, proving her superiority over another adept of the dark side. After all, the way of the Sith is betrayal. Having given the order to proceed and find out on which shuttle Kenobi flew away, the series would have ended. If you like, press like button and subscribe, that will make a big effort for me. And now, have a good day, morning, evening or night. See you soon.